Hi, I'm Christopher Clark from GeekForce5.com, and hooray for Apple TV. Yeah, you heard me. Not Netflix this time, because I've been waiting for the next disc in Tudors Season 4 to show up, and while I've been doing that, I've decided to catch up on an old friend, Mr. Harry Potter. For those of you who have been with GeekForce5 for a long time, you'll know that we used to focus on 5 subjects exclusively, and they were unchanged for a while, and the first time we ever did change them, one of the ones that we changed the subject to, one of the new ones we brought in, was Harry Potter. So not one of the originals, but one of the first replacement members of the GeekForce5. So Harry Potter is a big thing. It's a big thing in my house. It's a big thing in my family. It's a big thing for me. I'm a big fan. How many bigs was that? I'm a big fan of both the books and the films for different reasons, and I'm super psyched that the first part of the Deathly Hallows, so the 7th movie of a total of 8 movies. The 7th movie is coming out today. If it wouldn't get me in trouble with my wife, I would be walking to the movie theater right now and checking it out. But if I went to go see this film without my wife, I would probably get divorced. That's how big Potter is in our family. And so Tudors hasn't shown up from Netflix, so I've been using the Apple TV to do a sort of Harry Potter marathon. You know that I hate discs, right? You know that I hate having to throw things in and out of the DVD player. Apple TV makes it real super easy. Yesterday, around noon, we threw on the first Harry Potter. We, meaning me and my 6-month-old, 7-month-old. Watched the first one, second one, third one. Didn't watch all of them, but they were on, and we sort of came in and out. And today started around noon, 12:30, with the 4th one. And by the time the family gets back tonight, I'll probably have gotten through 4, 5, and 6. And I'll be all prepared for a movie that I won't get to see because we don't have a sitter. I bring all of this up because it's nice to revisit these films, and it's interesting to revisit these films. The first 2 are nearly unwatchable in some ways, right? You can watch them with kids. You can watch them if you can get yourself into a certain state of mind, but Chris Columbus's directorial style and strict adherence to the books does those films no favors, because the first 2 books are kind of near unreadable also, given what the series turns into, and given in particular what the 3rd book and the 3rd film are all about. Prisoner of Azkaban, the 3rd book, widely considered to be one of the best of the series, if not the best of the series, because of the way that it's plotted, the way that everything weaves together into this just really, really nice ending. So 1 and 2, hard to watch. 3 comes on, and I actually watched more of that yesterday than I did of the other ones. And I think 3 is pretty much where it kind of starts in 3, really starts in 4, and really, really starts in 5. This sort of unbroken narrative, right? The first 2, are, in the first one he's dealing with somebody being possessed by Voldemort. In the second one, he's dealing with what he doesn't know at the time is one of Voldemort's Horcruxes, which has been passed into the school and is trying to use Ginny to open the Chamber of Secrets, right? The third one, no Voldemort at all, but because it features Sirius and Pettigrew, it is sort of the beginning of this sort of unbroken narrative that continues through from 3 to 7, right? The Pettigrew thing is really the beginning of this unbroken story that begins when Pettigrew escapes at the end of Azkaban and ends with the final book, right? And this unbroken narrative really picks up in movie number 4, or book number 4, where Voldemort comes back. And that's when, all of a sudden, Voldemort being around, and whether or not people believe he's back, and all of that stuff, that is the sort of narrative of the rest of the book, right? The first 2 books, even the 3rd book, are just kind of random Harry Potter stories. They're great. They're good Harry Potter stories, but they're kind of just, random one-off issues of a comic book series, in that they tell a great story, but they're not really connected. From 4 on, it is this one gigantic narrative about the return of Voldemort and what that means for the Wizarding World and whether or not Harry is going to be able to defeat him. Because if you remember in number 1, Hagrid's sort of like, yeah, he'll come back someday, but we don't know when, and that's sort of just looming, but it really happens in 4. And so 4 was a pretty good movie. For the most part, the part I really like about 4 is the last half hour or so, right? Everything from when Cedric and Harry go into the maze, touch the cup, get transported to the graveyard, all of that stuff from the graveyard on, excellent. 5 is a book that I hated, but a movie that I loved. The movie really takes all of the good stuff, and there isn't a lot, but all of the good stuff out of the 5th book, and weaves it together into this pretty damn good story, right? And not coincidentally, it's the first David Yates directed one. And that's why 5, 6, and I'm anticipating 7 based on what I've read about it, and then 8 based on what I've read about that, will feel like this one long movie, right? Sort of like Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy feels like one complete piece. Having Yates on board for these final 4 films, 5, 6, 7, and 8, I think is going to make all the difference in the world, because it is one long story, and I really admire that. When I sit down and I try to imagine what I might do if I were ever to try and write a spec fiction, science fiction, fantasy, kid-friendly series, this is sort of what I aspire to. Not the first 2. I kind of aspire to the sort of unbroken narrative that begins in 3 and continues through book 7 and movie 8. It's great fantasy storytelling, in my opinion. I don't know. What do you think? And if you're going to see Harry Potter tonight, curse you. Enjoy it. Enjoy it for me, because I'm not going to get to see it myself until God knows when. I am E. Christopher Clark, saying hooray for Apple TV here on GeekForce5.com. I'll catch you on the flip side.